think I want to start. Obviously, I want to thank all of you for being here today in back of the yards. Right across the street is Davis Square Park. Back when I first was elected, there was a microburst in 2003. Malcolm, you remember that? And the roof was torn off and buildings were damaged. Kind of mayhem, nice baptism when I first got here. My name is George Cardenas. I'm Alderman of the 12th Ward. I'm chair of the Environmental Protection and Energy Committee. And Mayor Lightfoot's deputy floor leader. I'm part of that. I want you to put that down. But I want to thank Jonathan Pereira from Plan Chicago for hosting this event. You know, it's been a minute. This is my 20th year as an alderman. So I've been through now 3 administrations. Mayor Daley, Emanuel, as you know, Reverend Emanuel, and now Mayor Lori Lightfoot. And I just want to say, for the record, my experience, Mayor Lightfoot has been by far the greenest mayor in this city, in my experience. And you can go check the records. Let me give you a couple of, I'd say not just a couple, let me just mention quickly throughout the accomplishments on environmental protection in the city of Chicago. In 2019, City Council, with leadership with Mayor Lightfoot, agreed to transition 100% to renewable energy, all buildings across the city, including CTA. By 2040, the goal is to accomplish that. In 2020, the City Council declared a climate emergency. Had never been done. And in 2021, we passed really the most aggressive industrial zoning air quality reforms in a generation. And just last month, with the treasurers also as an ally, we've taken an aim to divest ourselves of fossil fuels, and that was codified in the municipal code. That's a huge accomplishment, as you know. I mean, it's tough to get these reforms in place with so many stakeholders sometimes in the way. Notably, the state also passed CEJA. You call it a path to our sustainable future, and I think is correct to say that. So we are here today on that. 2022 is the year where we take on climate action. Our climate action plan will be unveiled, and we're going to start truly seeing not just the reforms, but the action and also the benefit. And the plan outlines all of that will reach Chicagoans and sort of hold ourselves accountable and serve the latest roadmap, if you will, to our sustainable future. So I want to thank advocates everywhere that have been pushing themselves, the city, all the stakeholders, and us as well. And I applaud also the mayor and, of course, Angela Tovar, which is here with us today. She's our sustainable chief in the city. So I look forward to the adoption of the climate action plan with my city council colleagues. And I also look forward to continuing the collaboration with the mayor and her sustainability team and all the environmental advocacy, environmental community organizations that are part of this. And so with that, I'll give you the star of the moment, Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
So good morning, everyone. Let me clear my throat. Thank you, George, Alderman Cardenas. Always a great champion and leader. It's great to be with all of you today on Earth Day. So happy Earth Day. You know, I'm old enough to remember growing up in the 60s and 70s where Earth Day was a big deal. And it was, I think, in one of the first times in a long time back then that we were starting to really awaken as a country and understand our responsibilities for stewardship of the land under our feet. And we've come a long way in some ways, but as we all know, particularly from the dire warnings that we are seeing every day, and particularly coming recently from the United Nations, that there's much more that we must be done. I was joking with somebody the other day who came to Chicago from a southern state and was complaining about our winter. I said, oh, honey, you don't know. You do not know what it used to be like. And even we can feel this here. We're probably going to be more fortunate than places on the coast as we see the warming of the planet because of where we're situated, but it doesn't escape us. We've got to do more to address the rising lake levels. We've got to do more to address the fact that we continue to generate waste and filling up landfills. It's unsustainable, the path that we are on. We've got to do more, as Angela would be the first to tell you, where do we generate the most carbon? From our buildings. So we've got to do more to make sure that we're retrofitting them. And I'm a firm believer that the city government has to lead by example on these social policies, which is what really brings us to today's announcement. So I too want to join Alderman Cardenas in thanking Angela Tovar, Chief Sustainability Officer, who's really our guiding light on these issues. I want to thank Dan Laurie, our policy chief, but I also want to thank all of you, the people who have been toiling in this vineyard for quite a long time, and know that you have a partner, a committed partner in me and my administration on moving forward and doing our part as a city government to make sure that we are doing more, challenging ourselves, challenging the private sector and not-for-profits to make sure that we move together in a way that is going to leave our earth and our city in a better place for the next generations to come. But also, we've got to continue lifting up our voice to advocate at the national and international level, because we can do our part in Chicago, but as you know, we're part of a much larger ecosystem, and what happens outside of our geographic boundaries deeply affects what happens here. Let me also thank Plant Chicago Executive Director Jonathan Pereira, who's graciously hosting us here today. I just learned that this building was built in 1908 as a firehouse and remained so for a number of decades. Well, as most construction in 1908, I live in a house that was built in 1898, so I can tell you they weren't thinking about sustainability back in those days. So I'm looking forward to the transformation of this building and the grand plans that Jonathan and the team have for really making this into a different and livable space. Let me also thank Family Matters Director of Grants, Management and Community Engagement, Ann Hinterman, and Action for Climate Emergency Associate Director Tanisha Harris. You'll be hearing from them. So setting and implementing bold and equitable climate goals are necessary at every level, As government leaders, one of America's largest cities, and by working in tandem with community partners, we are uniquely positioned to address the climate concerns and needs of our residents and bolster efforts to create more resilient, healthier, and safer communities. That's why since 2008, Chicago has been a global leader in the climate crisis, becoming the first major U.S. city to develop a comprehensive climate action plan that sets ambitious goals rooted in equity and collaboration. So fast forward to today, 14 years later, I'm proud to say that my administration will be deepening our already commitment by releasing next week Chicago's 2022 Climate Action Plan, which will chart our pathway to a more sustainable and equitable future. This strategic plan outlines updated goals and specific actions that city departments and sister agencies will undertake in coordination with community partners, institutions, civic leaders, and residents to mitigate the disastrous effects of climate change and become a pillar of my agenda to build a more inclusive, racially equitable economy right here in the city of Chicago, as well as realize a thriving green economy for all of our 77 neighborhoods. One of the biggest goals we've outlined in the plan is to reduce emissions in Chicago by 62% by 2040. And folks, we can get there. We can get there. To ensure that we reach that goal, but just as importantly, ensure that our most vulnerable communities are able to feel and breathe the benefits of this work. This goal is supported by 5 strategic pillars, and let me outline them now. Lower costs on things like gas and electric bills and increase household savings. And let me pause on that for a moment. If you don't have a lot, what you end up doing every single day is juggling one bill versus another. We see too many times that people who are challenged financially end up making decisions that hurt them because they don't have the money to make ends meet. So we have been, and we will continue to push utilities to get real about the realities that people are living in every single day all over our city when it comes to their right, let me emphasize that, their right to have heat and water and electricity so that they can live comfortably in homes and apartment buildings. So we have a lot more work to do on that, but again, leading by example, but also using my bully pulpit to push the utility companies and not to pass on the cost to ratepayers. As you know, these companies are making a lot of money. They are making their stockholders extraordinarily wealthy. They're making their senior executives extraordinarily wealthy. It is time to share that wealth with the common man and woman who are desperately in need of relief, particularly in this time of rising prices. And so I commit to you that we will continue to push on those issues. Another thing that's important as part of our pillars is to reduce waste and create new jobs. And I touched upon that earlier. We are generating way too much waste in the city. We've got to go back to what I was taught when I was in the elementary school, starting with educating our children about how to be good stewards of the earth and creating real opportunities at the family level for them to be able to do the things that are necessary to also be good stewards and good partners in taking care of our earth. We've got to catalyze Chicago's clean energy future and strengthen communities and protect health. That's critically important. We must also recognize that low-income communities and communities of color are disproportionately impacted by climate change, as they are more likely to be overburdened by pollution and other forms of environmental injustice from legacy industrial uses across our city. That's why each of the 5 pillars of our emissions goals contains interconnected climate strategies designed to better serve all of our communities and address economic and climate justice. I'm a broken record on this, but equity and inclusion, after all, is a process and not an outcome. We have to be intentional and determined and persistent in order to get there. By working these values into every aspect of this new climate action plan, we will be able to advance actions to mitigate climate change while equitably centering our residents, communities, and city at the heart of those efforts. To that end, I'm proud that our administration has focused its efforts in drafting this plan on engaging thousands of residents, meeting people where they are, coming into communities, giving people opportunity to participate in written and oral surveys about what your pain points are and what you'd like to see in the work that we are doing. So we've been ensuring that voices of people like this in this community right here who have firsthand knowledge of what a badly insulated home can mean for their pocketbooks. We work with owners of large apartment buildings, utility companies, community anchor institutions, small businesses, and labor unions. That's a hallmark of how we get policy done. We don't sit on a 5th floor and think grand thoughts and then roll it out to the community and say, here's what we have for you. To borrow a phrase from the disability rights community, nothing for you without you. So we always start by coming into community with a humble heart and a listening ear and making sure that we are reflecting the true lived experience of people in the city in whatever it is that we're rolling out, and we've done exactly that with this new climate action plan. My team held town halls to make sure this plan was widely socialized, and something I insist to ensure that we're breaking out of the echo chambers of City Hall. To kickstart the implementation, in my last budget approved by City Council, we are investing $188 million in equity-focused climate and environmental programs, spanning everything from building energy retrofits to the expansion of our air quality monitoring network and planting, something that I'm personally proud of, over 75,000 trees across our city. Thank you. And I just want to say about the green space and the trees in particular. I've walked in too many neighborhoods, on the south and the west side in particular, where you don't see anything green. And I said to my team a couple summers ago, I was on the west side walking down Madison Street. And for blocks I walked. And I was walking that day with members of various street outreach team who were talking to me about the work that they were doing to tamp down violence on the west side. But I was walking, I noticed a lot of asphalt, a lot of concrete, a lot of vacant lots, trash strewn, but no green space. And I think about a child growing up in that environment, and what would you think about your life and your surroundings if you don't see trees, if you don't see green spaces? That's why the planting of these trees, to me, is personally so important. But as we know, trees are essential in addressing the effects of climate change. So the sum of these actions represents the beginning of our transition to a climate-just society. Right now, we have an incredible opportunity in front of us, one that allows us to address the ongoing threat of climate change and maximizes local benefits for communities by prioritizing those most vulnerable to climate change and helping them, and by helping them, helping us generate wealth and secure employment through a thriving green economy. By drastically reducing our reliance on fossil fuels, developing renewable energy resources, and centering nature-based solutions, we can sustain our communities for generations to come. I have to also say that I am so supportive of the federal government and President Biden's efforts through the infrastructure plan to also start making concrete, specific steps on sustainability. We want to be a part of the electric vehicle grid. We want to be a part of building electric batteries for cars and for trucks and other modes of transportation. This is something that we talk about on a regular basis with our federal partners. I was just over at an event yesterday with the Department of Defense that's opening up a research and innovation hub here in the city of Chicago. So there are lots of things happening. We just need to make sure that we are focused and determined to keep moving forward. So with that, I will yield the podium to our next speaker, who is Jonathan. But I just want to say, I can't think of a better way to celebrate Earth Day. We have a lot of work to do. We got to roll up our sleeves and protect our communities. But we will get there by working together. Jonathan?
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, just first I'd like to thank the mayor, her team, aldermen, coming here to release this much anticipated plan. I know there's many of us in this room that have been waiting for something like this for years, and I share all of your excitement to actually see some goals from the city of Chicago. I want to point out too, I just want to applaud you and your team for being so intentional about engaging frontline organizations, so many residents of the city of Chicago in this. Angela, you grabbed a group of high school students that were here when you met them and got their feedback on the climate action plan. That's an applause line. I'm hoping everyone right there. And all of you that are in this room now, there's so many of you that I respect and are doing incredible work. Just want to point that out. It's a bit ironic that we've ended up here in a former firehouse. We're in a building that was originally built for emergencies, and now we find ourselves responding in a quite different way to a different emergency, is climate change. Plant Chicago, our mission is to cultivate local circular economies. We're a small organization with big aspirations. We envision a paradigm shift in production, consumption, and waste, driven at the local level, generating equity and economic opportunity for all residents. In short, our global economy is operating off some really dangerous assumptions. That A, that there's infinite resources to consume in this earth, and B, that our economy assumes that materials, and oftentimes by extension people, are disposable. And we have to transition away from an economy that's based on disposability. So our mission and our vision here, what that looks like in a very small way, we've installed the first publicly available electric vehicle charging station on the southwest side of Chicago. Yay, nice. We're offering free food scrap drop-off to our neighbors so that food scraps can be composted and enter back into the economy as opposed to being landfilled where they create methane emissions and all sorts of other bad things. We're matching and providing link matching and sliding scale options for local food purchases at our market and here in our retail space. We're providing hands-on STEM education programs for groups across the city. There's a school group coming from Altgeld Gardens here, I believe, that's going to be working upstairs today. We're providing support for small businesses that are working to transition to circular practices. Too often small businesses and entrepreneurs are left out of this conversation. They're doing a million different things, and sustainability, while aspirational often, there's no support for them. We're aggregating them together, a group of shared values, so they can work on these things together, diverting materials from the landfill while also meeting their revenue goals. We're hosting regular markets, generating tens of thousands of opportunities for these businesses, small farmers and other small businesses, and creating an indoor victory garden next door, a shared use indoor farm. It's a low risk space for Chicago residents and entrepreneurs to experiment and try different methods of growing food indoors year round. Local circular economies create jobs. Anyone who says that environmentalism is against jobs is not being sincere or severely misinformed. Some reports suggest that by composting organic materials, we're creating 5 times more jobs than landfilling those materials. Composting is also a paradigm of local economic activity. Finished compost stays local and actually can help replenish soils while creating jobs at the same time. By repairing materials instead of landfilling and repairing appliances, we can support local jobs in places like back of the yards. It's worth noting there are already 7 appliance repair shops within 2 blocks of here along Ashland Avenue. Places like and neighborhoods like back of the yards are already engaging in environmentalism and sustainability, and they are leaders. By sourcing locally and sustainably grown food, you're supporting local farmers, some of whom I think are here today, Dulce, David, Oscar. You all are amazing. You are literally putting food on our plates and creating jobs at the same time. Now, Chicago is no stranger to plans. I understand that this is a dynamic plan. So here are my hopes. May this plan only collect coffee stains and not dust, pen marks, continued updates. May your team continue to engage those organizations that have contributed to this plan and more organizations working on the front lines of climate and equity work in the city. And for those of us from those organizations that will contribute this, may we work to hold you accountable for the pledges being made here and in this plan. And by accountability, I don't mean complaining when we don't feel like goals are being met, but that we actively engage with you when appropriate and live the values and vision that this document is setting forth. Oh, I love it. That was like an applause right there. So what Plant Chicago is pledging to do with partnership with the city, in the next 2 years, we're planning to decarbonize this building. As the mayor pointed out, it's a crazy inefficient building, relying a lot on gas right now. We want to change that by installing renewable energy efficiency upgrades, renewable energy, and extracting our operations from fossil fuels, and ensuring that any benefits that we receive from this transition reach small businesses and our neighbors on the southwest side. These are the small but I think important pledges if all of us collectively can figure out what we're actually doing and the action. And as you pointed out, equity is it's not an outcome, it's a process. Democracy is not an outcome, it's a process, and if we don't engage in it, they both die. So thank you again for coming here, and I'm really excited. I believe I'm introducing you, Angela. Thank you so much, and happy Earth Day.
Wonderful. Happy Earth Day, everyone. So lovely to see you all. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mayor Lightfoot. And thank you, Jonathan, for just being an incredible host. Jonathan Perea is not only running this entire organization and teaching us how to enable the circular economy in our communities, he is also a partner and a thought leader on decarbonization. So as we are thinking about retrofitting our old buildings across Chicago, he is giving us real-time insight on resources that are available, on what new technologies we can use, and how do we do this? How do we transition all of our buildings across the city? So we're just grateful for your leadership here in the city of Chicago. I want to just pause for a second to share with you all how meaningful today is for me as a mother, as the leader of this wonderful team, as someone who grew up in an environmental justice community, South Chicago, on the far south side. Mayor, it is a pleasure to serve in your administration today and every day, but especially today with the unveiling of the 5 pillars of the Climate Action Plan. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm going to begin my remarks by just grounding us in a land acknowledgement. Chicago is the traditional homeland of the Anishinaabe, or the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi nations. Many other nations also call this area home, and I offer this acknowledgement to bring awareness and understanding of the legacy of Indigenous peoples as traditional and contemporary stewards of the local land and waterways, and also as an invitation to all of us to rethink our relationship between the city, the land, and the environment. This is a joyous occasion, and I'm thrilled to be here with you to make history. We are building off of the goals that were set forth in 2008. That was 14 years ago. So now 14 years later, we are here to share this goal of a 62% reduction in the city's overall carbon emissions by 2040. And this is an important distinction. This is through direct action, direct implementation, and direct investments in our infrastructure, our people, and our communities. The call from scientists and climate experts make drastic changes to our existing way of life, is undeniable. And I commend the mayor for answering that call, as well as all of the other leaders that are here with us in this room. The 2022 Climate Action Plan is more than just a climate mitigation strategy. This is a roadmap to a just and equitable green economy for the city of Chicago. It is a plan that understands the urgency of mitigating the climate crisis while crafting solutions to ensure that communities that have been historically marginalized are not left behind as we embark on a transition to a more regenerative economy that minimizes our reliance on fossil fuels and continues to grow our green jobs sector, invests in clean energy infrastructure, and innovative systems that prioritize people and our planet. It is a plan that sets out to drastically reduce our carbon emissions while driving deep and important community benefits like economic inclusion, improved air quality, community resiliency, and improved mobility. A robust green economy rooted in the livelihoods of communities is a core pillar of this administration, and Mayor, we all answered this call to move that work forward. I want to pause and just acknowledge the folks that put this plan together. Our technical advisors, WSP, thank you so much. Our community engagement team from Muse Community Design, we appreciate your work. And I just want to name our team, Gavin Taves, Gabby Wagner-Sobrero, Jared Polachicchio, Mary Nickel, and the wonderful Kyra Woods, you all, who was our project leader in this process. You know, not only did you see me running around Chicago recruiting students to give feedback on the climate action plan, but I think we were all out there. You probably saw us knocking on your door or at a community event or online asking you to come to your community to do a briefing. So just appreciate all of the work and the leadership that this team put in. And we did not do this work alone, of course. Our role was to lift up the voices of community in this process, right? To talk to people who are on the front lines of climate crisis, our community leaders, our workers, our businesses, who all came armed with the solutions, right? And we work in coordination with climate leaders, we worked in coordination with local experts, department leaders, sister agencies, business leaders, and as the mayor already mentioned, thousands of Chicagoans who engaged in this year-long public process. Many of those folks are here today, so I just want to also acknowledge and thank you all for your tremendous feedback on the plan. I know that many of you spent hours, you wrote letters. Again, you invited us to your communities for briefing. We are deeply grateful to have those conversations with you. And I will note that we read every single public comment and considered every single public comment that came back to us. These conversations that we engaged in and the feedback that we received was critical to developing a plan that not only set the path forward to achieve the broader climate goals of this administration, but a plan that is based in the reality of all Chicagoans from all corners of the city. Again, this is a plan that is rooted in people, in our planet, and we as the city of Chicago accept the responsibility of advancing this plan and are committed to delivering the equitable benefits that our 77 communities need to thrive. Thank you so much, and with that, I will turn it over to Ann Hinterman from Family Matters. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ann Hinterman, and I am the Director of Community Engagement for Family Matters, which is a youth development and community leadership organization located in the north of Howard community of Rogers Park. Thank you so much to Mayor Lightfoot, to Chairman Cardenas, and to Chair Tovar for welcoming Family Matters to participate in this event. Family Matters has been a community-driven organization since 1987, and we hold in our hearts the needs and desires of our community in every step of our operations. We've been hearing for a number of years that environmentalism and sustainability is really important to the youth who come to our programs every day. In the past year, we have had the great good fortune to participate in a local initiative called the Neighborhood Power Project, which allows small nonprofits like Family Matters to participate alongside mentors while receiving micro grants to establish more sustainable practices in our buildings. Family Matters is located in a vintage Chicago 3-flat. Our building is more than 100 years old and looks a lot like the housing stock that makes up so many communities in Chicago. And we were really excited to be a neighborhood anchor to demonstrate to the youth, families, and our community that environmentalism is possible in a building that looks like their homes and on a very tight and hardworking budget. We went into the project expecting traditional outcomes. We would be doing good work, we'd be saving some money, and we would be building more sustainable programs in our building. We had no idea the immense changes to the quality of life that would take place as a result of these programs. I'll give an example. As part of our work, we transitioned all of the lighting fixtures in Family Matters, all 4 floors, our 3 program floors, plus our basement, which we call the Roots, and transition them into warm, comfortable LED lighting. This has had a tremendous benefit for everyone who enters our space. When members of the mayor's office came to visit, they commented on how comfortable and inviting Family Matters is. And this has been really important as all of us work through our dysregulation as a result of the pandemic, particularly the children that come to Family Matters, many of whom have sensory needs. So having this soft, warm lighting has improved concentration at the Family Matters school and has made learning more fun and more comfortable. Neighborhood Power Project also opened new doors for partnerships at Family Matters, including speaking with all of you today, and opened the doors for a collaboration with LK, who donated 2 water bottle refill stations for Family Matters. So now on each floor of our building, we have clean filtered water, and the children of the school take great pride in demonstrating exactly how to fill their reusable water bottles, stopping the sensor just as it gets to the top, and they know every day, every time they refill their water bottles, that they're doing something to improve the sustainability in their lives, and they're bringing those lessons back to their families. We're so excited to move the cost savings that we've seen through our energy savings into new sustainable projects at Family Matters, and we're embarking on working with Illinois Solar for All to establish solar panels on top of our building. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for all of us. And now, Tanisha Harris.
Hello, everyone, and happy Earth Day. It is an honor to be before you today to celebrate the announcement of Chicago's Climate Action Plan. I currently work for Action for the Climate Emergency, but my contributions to the Climate Action Plan came during my time as the Chicagoland Conservation Manager for the Illinois Environmental Council. I am from the south side of Chicago, and I second the mayor's comments about the significant and stark lack of green space there. While I grew to appreciate the beauty of my own neighborhood and the tree on my block, I always yearned for more. And children these days understand the differences as well. My then 6-year-old brother, while visiting me in my Northside home, asked, "Why are there so many leaves here?" Imagine growing up in a reality in which the abundance of green space is suspicious and abnormal. As many young people like myself, we have demanded bold, robust, and comprehensive policies that take action on the climate emergency. These actions must be curated and executed in an equitable and inclusive manner, because even though we all experience the consequences of the climate crisis, we don't experience them equally. This is no easy feat in government. Developing an inclusive stakeholder engagement process, balancing the needs of science, and ensuring proposing policies that are accurate and equal to communities. This is why I am pleased by the process in which the Climate Action Plan was developed. My contribution to this plan was facilitating and drafting recommendations from a subgroup of the Nature and Wildlife Committee, the Nature-Based Climate Solution Task Force. Paired with transition to clean, renewable energy, nature-based climate solutions are a holistic way to protect biodiversity, mitigate the climate crisis, and reduce pollution. The task force in itself was representative of Chicagoans from all walks of life, whether that is age, race, ethnicity, or location, or occupation. I must admit, it was a little intimidating leading so many successful people on such a promising plan, but it was vital to have a young person like myself not only represented, but also one of the people in charge, because we will inherit the crux of the climate crisis and must be at the forefront of all solutions developed. This task force worked diligently for several weeks to propose recommendations rooted in science and equity. The most arduous part of this process was fitting these recommendations to the 5 pillars of CAP. However, we knew that nature-based climate solutions was vital to CAP, and we kept pressing on. I am proud to see the fruits of our labor at today's announcements. The Climate Action Plan is Chicago's commitment to reducing carbon emissions while improving the quality of life for Chicagoans and our natural environment. Thank you, Cairo, for rallying this task force. Thank you to Jill, Jerry, Danny, Mary Pat, Ben, Juanita, and Heather for endless meetings and emails to incorporate nature-based climate solutions into the plan. Thank you to the Office of Sustainability, Mayor Lightfoot, and Alderman Cardenas for the inception of this plan. As a young and native Chicagoan, I am eager to see how the Climate Action Plan transforms the city towards a more sustainable future. Thank you again, and I am going to introduce Kyra Woods.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Kyra Woods, and it is with great pleasure that I welcome you and thank you for being here today. Mayor Lightfoot, we appreciate you coming for our tour and our program. Chairman Cardenas, thank you so much for your presence and your words. And absolutely, Chief Sustainability Officer Tovar, we appreciate your leadership. As a member of the Mayor's Office's policy team, we are so grateful for this opportunity to share and unveil these 5 pillars. And hopefully through the conversation and the remarks today, you've been given a glimpse into some of the details that are a part of this plan. This is about more than just environmentalism, possibly as you may have known it, or only conservation. This is truly the product of so much feedback and so much elbow grease. The pounding of the pavement and the knocking of the doors, whether it was to do tree surveys, we appreciate you and we see you. For the leaders that are thinking and doing the work of making sure that we're building a Chicago that is affordable, that is accessible as well, but is truly fit for the future and many generations ahead. I am hopeful that when you see the plan and that you review the actions that are a part of it and the strategies, you see yourself, maybe you see your family, you see a neighbor or a business down the street, and you find that you can participate and be a part of our momentum that we are truly continuing as a part of this plan and building off of so many years and so much work of those here in the room. So I thank you for your participation. Again, our team at WSP and Muse, we greatly appreciate your contributions to the culmination of this plan. And this is just the beginning. So this is a dynamic document that sets the course for our work and our policy moving forward, but there is so much to do. The implementation road may be long. As Mayor Lightfoot said, we are building goals out until 2040. And so we look forward to working with you under various different initiatives, and I'm sure there will be plenty of working groups and committees established over that time. We promise we will not try to wear you out in it, but we do invite you or to tap a colleague or a friend or volunteer your neighbor to be a part of those discussions too, so that we can make this a part of the conversation about how Chicago is coming back better than ever after this pandemic, and that we are really ready to take on the years ahead. And so I invite you to stay a little while. I know that there's a school group coming, so I won't say stay too long, okay? They'll be upstairs. Okay, so stay a little while. And as you talk to those around you, truly, these are the movers and shakers that are making things happen with their businesses, with their neighbors, with their families themselves. And so I truly encourage you to see who you're sitting next to and understand the impact that they're truly making in this city, because I guarantee you, especially as I'm looking around now, we have some really dynamic power in this room. And so I look forward to working with you all in the future as we implement the plan. I look forward to the future unveiling of the details and strategies, and for further conversation about how we make this a reality. Thank you so much for your time this morning.